Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This video is going to be about 5 guns that I regret buying. If you guys have not already seen part 1 to this video, which is 5 guns I don't regret buying, I'm going to put the link for that video up in the corner of the screen. Go ahead and click on that link if you want to see guns that I don't regret. Of course, I could not do that video without following it up with 5 guns that I regret buying. Now, the guns that made this list are generally going to check the box of either being unreliable, a little bit of a lemon for me, so tying into the unreliable part, and also guns that I just do not trust, don't really want to bring to the range all too often because of that trust factor. And I know I'm going to get some butthurt people in the comment section. Just understand that these were guns that I tried to deal with, tried to fix, and they were ultimately just guns that wound up in a pile of guns that I keep specifically to sell later on in the future. So I am one of those people that actually have never sold a gun out of my collection, and instead of getting guns that I really don't like, guns that weren't reliable for me, and immediately selling them and trading them in for something else, I actually keep all those guns in a little pile, and I will pull from those in the future if I am ever really hurting for cash. I make sure that the guns that really gave me grief are the ones to go first. Now, of course, as always, before we get this video started, if you want to donate or support the channel in any way, head down to the description and you can check out any of those links, and any of that support really does help me out. And if you're not looking for a way to donate, seriously consider hitting that subscribe button, ringing the bell. If you enjoy that content, YouTube is constantly pushing down gun content here on the platform. And guys, that stuff seriously helps me out, and I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it. But the first gun on this list of guns that I regret buying is the Ruger LCP2. Man, this was a pistol that I wanted to work so bad. As you're going to see a common theme of these guns, I did multi-part reviews to try to get them to work. I received a lot of heat over my 4-part review on this LCP2. You can check out the link to the 4th video in that series where I tried to get it working again, did everything I could. A lot of people said, hey man, you're limp wristing the gun. So I would try to limp wrist it to induce a malfunction, and it would run for those magazines that I was just barely holding on to it. I would death grip the pistol to the point where I'm like shaking, and still I would have a malfunction. I would try new magazines and still had a malfunction, sent it back to Ruger. This is one company that I will say Ruger is phenomenal with their warranty repair and customer service. I sent it back to them. They said they looked over it, fixed a couple things. They sent it back to me. I did not mention that I was, on a YouTube channel or anything like that. And still, after it came back from the factory, it still did not want to work. I was having really all types of malfunctions, failures to feed, failures to eject, which is not a good thing because it's a lot harder to pinpoint exactly what's going on with the gun. And ultimately, I realized that it's just kind of a lemon for me. Now, I'm sure if I sent it back to Ruger for a second time, they would probably send me a replacement, and maybe that replacement would work. But honestly, with how bad this gun was for me as far as reliability, I don't know that I could ever trust even a replacement. It was just not good overall, and it led me down a path that I started realizing that small, micro, compact 380s like this particular pistol generally are about a 50-50 for reliability. You might get one that works and runs flawlessly. I had a bunch of people down in the comment section tell me, hey man, I have thousands of rounds through my LCP2. Half of that is crappy steel-cased ammo. It keeps chugging along. This is basically a battle pistol. I had a bunch of those comments. But again, for me, it was just not the case. So maybe you buy an LCP2 and it works great, but this gun definitely made the list for 5 guns that I regret buying, and one that I really would have no issue selling. The second gun on this list of 5 guns that I regret buying is this Silver Eagle Turkish M13 shotgun. This is a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun that I have had in the collection now for quite some time, and this is actually the very first time that this shotgun has been on the Firearm Freedom channel. I'm cleaning off like lint and stuff like that because it has been sitting in the safe for a number of years, but I had to bring it out for this video. Now, full disclosure on this shotgun, it actually runs reliably. I've never had a malfunction out of this shotgun. So it was kind of tough to bring it onto this list. And this was a shotgun that I bought when I still lived up in New York. I was 18 years old. And in New York, I saw that pistol grip and I am like, man, this is the most tactical shotgun I've ever seen. I have to have it. It fit my price point that I was looking for at that age. And oh yeah, I saw that massive compensator on the end and I just knew this had to happen. I didn't even realize at the gun shop that I purchased this at that the front sight on this shotgun is completely canted to the right and it just looks painfully bad. I also didn't realize that the original pick rail that TR Imports was nice enough to actually switch out for me when I finally got around to contacting them, that my rail really just wasn't fitting properly and my rear sight had an issue. My rear sight actually ended up breaking. So they sent me a new one. But the reason why this made my list is because a lot of the Turkish shotguns, in my opinion, are going to run reliably, but I would much rather save the money for a Mossberg or something like that, mainly for parts and availability of those parts. The downfall with these shotguns is stock sets are going to be really hard to find. Sometimes you might get lucky and they're patterned after certain other shotguns that are a lot more common. But for me, you know, I wasn't a huge fan as I started progressing down my firearms path of this very rubberized, sticky pistol grip, and there's not really a lot of options to switch this stock out with, and it just feels a bit gooberish to me. I'm not a huge fan of the massive compensator, and of course the crooked front sight. I gotta give it to them. It runs 100% reliably, but it made this list just because, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. And I gotta give it to the Turks. They definitely can make a shotgun during all of these crazy availability problems. Leave it to Turkey to continue producing oddball shotguns and fill the gun shops with them. So had to make the list. It is reliable, but it's a little bit gooberish. Let's move on. Number 3 on this list, and this is where I'm cheating a little bit because number 3 and 4 are actually the same rifle, and I am definitely gonna get some butthurt people in the comment sections about this, really on both sides of the aisle. I'm gonna get people butthurt that I actually purchased these rifles, and I'm gonna get people butthurt that actually own these rifles and are very frustrated that I'm calling them out in 5 guns that I regret buying. But these rifles are the Century C39 V2s, and oh yes, you guys can probably imagine that I bought 2 of them. So this is number 3 and number 4 on this list of 5 guns. You can call me out for cheating in the comment section, but you know what? I do unfortunately regret buying both of these rifles. This rifle actually holds a little bit of a special place in my heart because this was actually the very first free rifle, you could say, that I bought in Pennsylvania. Little old Mr. Freedom rolled into my first Pennsylvania gun shop and I wanted an AK. I've wanted an AK pretty much my entire life and I finally was in Freedom Zone and could actually pick one up. I went into the gun shop and I did not know anything about really AK variants at that point other than what I saw on the good old YouTube. This was long before the Firearm Freedom channel, and I was looking around, kind of looking at the different AKs that were out there, and at this point in time, the C39 V2, you can see this is an earlier variation with no scope rail on the side, was all the hotness. This was kind of the first real US-made AK that had a milled receiver and was getting a lot of traction. Of course, there were other US-made ones before this, but this was the first one that everyone was talking about. I remember big, massive YouTubers, that was where I was getting my information from, was saying, hey man, this is the best US-made AK that you're gonna find. I have 10,000 rounds through this thing and it is doing good. So I went ahead and bought it. Not only did I buy one, but I bought the first one. I said, you know what? I love that OG wood look, even though it's US-made wood, and my new AK self really kind of cringes at the overall look of this because it doesn't have an AK, feel to it. It doesn't have that extra comm block spice and soul to it. But I decided I'm actually going to buy a second one. I want 2 AKs, and why not just get another C39 V2? This one actually even has their oddball proprietary scope rail, and I'm going to go ahead and just magpole this thing up because I thought that was the cool factor at the time. Now, why did these rifles make the list? Here's the deal, guys. These rifles each probably have a couple hundred rounds through them, and I've never had a malfunction of any type. However, as information started to surface about these rifles and the cast parts that were in them and breaking and losing head spacing over time, I started seriously losing confidence with these. And of course, you can see that I even have this little condom-like nub on the charging handle, and that's so I prevent the gun from scratching up others in the safe. So I know I'm going to get heat over that, but that just shows you how rarely I pull these out of the safe. And here's the deal, guys. I was still kind of the impression that, you know, maybe mine were different, maybe mine would not have any issues, and then I actually personally saw one blow up at the range. I was working at an indoor range, and I personally saw one bulge because of head spacing issues and blow. And that was actually a little bit under the 1,000 round mark. It was something that I have rarely ever seen in AKs, and then I started noticing the cast parts in that gun that blew that were just not up to par for safety at all. And I actually broke this out of the safe, and I used the bolt for your typical method of takedown of your gas tube. And when I did that, I actually started pushing the metal in the bolt, which tells you how soft that bolt actually is. And I lost all confidence for the rifle. So I don't know, guys. I might bring this to the range in the future and just see what these rifles are really doing for me, but I really don't want to put that many rounds through it. In asking around in the AK world, I actually have a very close friend of mine who also personally knows of one that blew because of bad head spacing and bad materials that were used. So with these, the VSKAs and the RAS 47s, I just don't have confidence in the cast parts. And now that I have many other AKs that I would absolutely bet my life to, arsenals, other comm block guns, I see the difference between the two, and these were 2 that I definitely regret buying. Unfortunately, I'm sure many of you guys out there are probably not going to have issues with them because a lot of you may never reach the round counts that are going to make these things blow, and I would definitely say that if you're never going to reach them, it's going to be a plinking rifle, and you just want to, have some fun at the range and, maybe shoot 1,000 rounds in the entire rifle's lifetime, you're probably going to be fine. I would not recommend these even a little bit for any sort of hard use defensive gun, anything like that, because I think the longevity not only is a concern, but also actually leads to major safety problems. And I know I'm going to get flack for that, but it is what it is. They made the list. And the 5th and final gun that made this list of 5 guns that I regret buying. Oof, man, this is a salty one for me. This one's brutal to add to this list. Is my PTR 9CT. I wanted this gun to work so bad it's not even funny, and this is another one that actually had a 4-part series on my YouTube channel. There was a lot of stuff going on with this NFA item. This is actually an SBR, which is also unfortunate. I'm not going to go too much into all the issues that I had with my PTR 9CT. If you want to see that whole series, I'm just going to link you to part 4 up in the card up in the corner of your screen right now. Check that out. See what you think. This gun had a ton of controversy on my channel. I'll be honest with you guys, I was not a fan of how PTR handled the situation, how their warranty repair went. Ultimately, I think it was leading to a head spacing issue or a QC problem. I do not believe it was anything that I did that caused the problem. Unfortunately, it's an SBR, so I really don't want to eat the tax stamp and take it off and worry about selling it or whatever. But this has led me to believe that really, if you're looking for a roller delayed gun like this 9mm variation, so the MP5 series or the MP5K, it would probably be in your best interest to save a little bit more money and go with the real deal. There's still some shops out there that are actually getting in SP5s at the original price of $27.99 and SP5Ks. It's about $1,000 more than I paid for this, but ultimately I think if you really want to go that route, that's going to be the most reliable way to go. Of course, you can still buy MP5 parts kits and buy flats to fold them yourself, and that's always an option too. You could go with the new Zenith options that are being imported, but quite frankly, those are coming in at the same price point as an SP5, if you can find one at a reasonable price. So I don't know that I would recommend those either. I dropped so much money into this. I wanted an MP5 variant so bad, and I was just among the few that had a bunch of issues with these. You can go in the comment section of all these videos that I made, and you can see a lot of other people experiencing the same problems, the same issues, running them suppressed, even not running them suppressed and having problems. But then on the opposite end of that coin, I've talked to many people that have actually made these their sear hosts. So what that means is they actually have a transferable auto sear that they put into this gun, and they've made it a full-time machine gun. And on top of that, they ran it suppressed. We're talking over 10,000 rounds full auto and suppressed, and they have never run into a problem, never switched out a part to run it suppressed, and it has run great. I've talked to close friends of mine that own this particular pistol that have ran it a couple thousand rounds, have also ran it suppressed, and still have not had a problem. So unfortunately, it appears that you got about a 50-50. Maybe you buy one that works, maybe you don't, and I bought one that didn't. A lot of you guys ask all the time, hey man, what's going on with this? What happened with this? What is going on with the PTR? That video is almost 1.5 years old, maybe 2 years old now, a little bit older than that. I actually have not brought this gun to the range after that last Part 4 video. Shot 250 rounds. It seems to be working well in that video, but the reason why I haven't is ammo is ridiculous right now, and I don't really feel like justifying 124 grain ammo and compiling some ammo together and bringing this to the range, all to find out all of a sudden my receiver's bulging again with, you know, some roller marks, or I'm having more problems. Now it's got to go back to the factory a third time. My trust is just completely ruined for the gun. If ammo ever gets a little bit better, I'm going to start bringing this to the range more and just slowly start seeing with just 124 grain brass ammo, not running the gun suppressed ever again. And I just want to see if it even holds up as a regular shooter. I don't know yet. I wish I could say it would, but I don't know. And I really got burnt out with this gun after the 4 videos that I did on it. So it's very unfortunate. The gun looks beautiful overall. I really dig it. Ultimately, it's frustrating. It had to make the list. It is what it is. And these were 5 guns that I regret buying on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think of this one, what you want to see next. All that stuff really helps defeat the YouTube algorithms. And of course, while you're down there in the comment section, head up to the description and check out the links to the Firearm Freedom Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. I have daily content going out on all of those platforms that you guys are not going to want to miss. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more great videos to come soon.